And of course, let's start the conversation by telling you that lawyers and lawmakers have expressed concern that tax reform legislation passed by the National Assembly and signed by President Bola Tinubu appears to have been altered in the version published in the official Gazette. Now, senior legal practitioners argue that any variation between the gazetted copy and the bill approved by the Parliament would be unconstitutional, stressing that only the legislature has the authority to make laws. Lawmakers point to provisions now in circulation that were not part of the original bill, including expanded fiscal and enforcement powers. Now, how did these discrepancies emerge? And what do they mean for the credibility of Nigeria's lawmaking process? Of course, to dissect this, I'm joined by Sergius Ogun, a former member of the House of Representatives and also a member of the ADC. He joins from the United Kingdom. I also have Simeon Nnah. He is a public affairs analyst. He joins from Lagos, and Darlington Nwauju is the publicity secretary of the All Progressives Congress. He, of course, joins virtually. But let's take, before we get into the crux of the conversation, let's take a listen to this sound on tape on this matter.
Colleagues, I'm here today because my privilege has been breached as a member of this all-important House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we passed the tax laws on this floor, and Mr. Speaker, I took my time in the last 3 days to look at the gazetted past copy, the vote and proceedings of the House of Representatives, and also went an extra mile to look at the vote and proceedings of the Senate of what was harmonized. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, what I passed on this floor is not what is gazetted. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I have all the copies, but I'm coming under privilege because I was here, I gave my vote, and it was counted, and I'm seeing something completely different. So on that note, on this privilege, I will call on Mr. Speaker to graciously look at what was harmonized, what is in the gazetted copy, what was passed in the House and the Senate. You will find out what is before Nigerians, which is being sold to Nigerians at the Ministry of Information, which I personally went to buy the gazetted copies, are not what was passed. So there is no motion here, but Mr. Speaker, I'll be pleading that all the documents should be brought before the committee of the whole. The whole members should see what is in the gazetted, should see what they passed on the floor, so that we can make the relevant amendment. Mr. Speaker, this is a breach of the Constitution, this is a breach of our laws, and this should not be taken by this honorable House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Abdul-Samad.
Of course, you just saw their sound on tape, a lawmaker in Nigeria's House raising a motion there to bring to the fore discrepancies notice. That was Abdul-Samad Dasuki, alleging that the version of the tax law gazetted by the federal government contains provisions not approved by the National Assembly. Let me go to my guest this evening. Gentlemen, thank you once again for your time. I would like to start with you, Honorable Ogun. I mean, you're a former member of the House of Representatives and, of course, a member of the ADC. But, I mean, for the benefit of Nigerians that are watching and, you know, want to know how these things actually work, before we talk, you know, in detail about these discrepancies, during your time in the House, when sensitive bills like this are passed, how does it work?
Lawmaking is very straightforward. When you send in a bill for first reading, the short title is read, it's not debated, and then it's scheduled for second reading. The second reading is when you debate the merit and the demerit of the bill. From where, if it passes, it goes to the committee, and then the committee now calls for public hearing and then receives a memorandum from the public, you know, where stakeholders will come, people with interest will send in their papers, you know, and make presentations. And thereafter, the committee cleans it up and presents it to committee of the whole that is usually chaired by the deputy speaker. And thereafter, if members have issues, they also can raise it and do further amendments there. When it passes there, it goes straight back to the committee, it's cleaned up, and it comes for third reading. And when it passes the third reading, it would have passed that chamber, be it the House of Reps or the Senate. And then, if there are variances, if there are differences between the bills passed by both chambers, there is a conference committee that is set up of members in the House and the Senate to reconcile the differences. When you pass through that stage and is reconciled, and then it goes to the clerk of the House, and the clerk of the Senate transmits to the clerk of the National Assembly, where the legal team will prepare a clean copy that is eventually sent to the executive for assent. They also will, on their own side, the Attorney General's office and his team will look at it and before the president assents to it. So that is why it's shocking that the House will pass a bill, or rather the National Assembly will pass a bill, and then the Attorney General would have gone through it, and then the executive will amend that same bill, will amend the same bill, so they are usurping the function of the legislator now. It's clearly stated in the Constitution, the functions of the legislator is lawmaking and oversighting the executive. That's Section 4 of the Constitution. The Section 5 gives power to the executive, and then Section 6 to the judiciary. So what I don't understand now is why the executive is now doing the work of the legislators. You know, because it's clearly stated in the Constitution.
All right.
Section 58 talks about the procedures. Section 59, you know, there are discrepancies or things that need to be reconciled between the Senate and the House. Nothing about the executive when it comes to making laws.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Ogun. I'll leave you for a moment to go to Professor Simeon. Professor, I would like your reaction to this, what I call it, the allegation raised by the lawmaker, saying that there are discrepancies, particularly in the area of some provisions and enforcement, things that were not originally agreed to. I mean, for you as you know, a professor and also a Nigerian, how does this, meet you?
Like the Honorable had just said, you know, all of us were here in the 8th Assembly, and we saw what happened. Each time they pass a bill and send it to the presidency, the president will look at it and he will feel there are areas of concern. He will notify those areas, and underline those areas and send the bill back to the National Assembly for them to look at it again and pass it before bringing it back for his signature. I think the duty of the president is to give assent to a bill or to withdraw the assent to a bill. His duty is not to begin to amend an already passed bill. The lawmaker that pointed it out mentioned sections that were, tampered with. And he talked about how those things will impact Nigerians and the opposition, because they are talking of enforcement. They are talking of enforcement, so they are looking at areas that they could use to, go against the opposition. I've listened to all shades of argument. I've even listened to the president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation, and he was saying that he has not seen the approved copy by the past copy by the National Assembly. The one he has seen is the one that is gazetted. But the lawmaker told us that he has compared the two. And he was not the only person that spoke. I think 2 or 3 of them, some of them lawyers. My worry here is the silence of the Senate. One expected that the Senate should equally speak up on this issue. Why is the Senate keeping quiet? What is happening to us? I don't understand, because when your powers are being eroded, you see, we keep on saying that this on your mandate will stand National Assembly is not helping matters. One expected that once the House of Reps, came up with that allegation, the Senate would have followed suit to look at the documents again. By the way, the Senate, one of the members of the Senate is elders. And in my place, there's a proverb that an elder should not be at home, and the goat will die where it is tied. But in this case, our elders are at home and goats are dying where they are tied. I don't understand any longer. It is improper that as these things are raging on since last week, the Senate have not said anything about it.
I mean, you raised the concern. Professor, you did raise a concern. In your words, you said on your mandate we shall stand Senate. I'm just picking that from you. You said it's not helping matters. Would definitely extend this conversation to also look at the role of the Senate in all of this. That's the House, and what actually the concerns of many Nigerians are. But we'll go on our first break. When we return, I'll be coming straight to you, Darlington Nwauju, the Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, as regards some of these concerns being raised. Stay with us. We will be right back. I still have my guest with me on the program this evening. Sergius Ogun is a former member of the House of Representatives and also a member of the ADC. I also have Professor Simeon Nnah, is a public affairs analyst, and Darlington Nwauju is the Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Darlington, I'm coming straight to you. Because of these discrepancies that have been raised and concerns, there are suggestions or calls from some quarters that this whole tax reform thing be suspended or even cancelled, to ensure that all of these concerns and discrepancies align. I mean, you're a member of the opposition party. Do you think these concerns are valid? Should it be cancelled or suspended, the tax reform? I don't think Darlington is able to connect with me. Let's, of course, while we're still trying to connect with Darlington, there is something you raised, Professor Simeon Nnah. You said on your mandate, House. So I would like us to play something. This happened when Mr. President was about to present, the budget. And this has got a lot of Nigerians reacting. I'll take your reaction, but let's watch this video first. I mean, that's the House there, standing up, in respect or what some will call loyalty to the President's personal anthem. On your mandate, we shall stand. For many Nigerians, they feel that the House should be that point that, performs the role of checks and balance. And I think I'll come back to you, Honorable Ogun. You've been a member of this House before. Does this signal loyalty in any way, or a test of popularity on the part of Mr. President, or something Nigerians shouldn't be bothered about? Is this normal?
We tend to respect our elders. Like when I went to the House, the president then was Buhari, was much older than most of us, old enough to be our father. And same thing with the president today, even though we don't really know his age. But this is a challenge because we are brought up to respect those that are senior to us, irrespective of, the age even. His position is the president of the country. We should give him that respect. So usually when they come in like that, we stand. It's not compulsory. There's no law that says we should stand.
So there's no law. There's no law that requires. Sorry, there's no law that requires that members of the House stand.
Absolutely no law.
Okay, but
what is it? We had placards. We had placards in the House and we were protesting with the placards. We were seated when people were standing. It's just like I said. It's just protocol and respect. And I remember one of those budgets when the president, then President Buhari, was reading the budget, the voice of somebody in the background, actually Kingsley Chinda, said is a lie. And Buhari stopped and said, the international community, everybody's watching, because there's no law that says there must be decorum. But we are supposed to be lawmakers and we should respect the president. Like the then president said, the whole world was watching us. So it's just decorum and that respect, and protocol, nothing else. But to not say they are now singing the anthem or his political campaign music in the hallowed chambers is a denigration of what we stand for in that institution. And I don't know how else to describe it.
How about you, Professor? Is this, should there be, is this an issue of concern?
Sacrifice. As simple as that. See, there is nothing wrong in standing up when the president walks in. You are not standing up for the man, President Tinubu. You are standing up for the office of the president. There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But singing on your mandate will stand a simple sacrifice. There's no other way to explain it. Have you observed that at times they don't even sing the national anthem? It has replaced the national anthem. Why would we be doing that? It extended to the judiciary. Although they came out to say they didn't sing, it was the Brigade of Guards that sang. No, but this has to stop. It has to stop. Honestly, it has to stop. Somebody has to call somebody to order. In the case of the National Assembly, they sing it themselves, so they cannot, begin to gaslight us or try to micromanage the situation. They cannot micromanage it. The judiciary is trying to micromanage the situation because it says the Brigade of Guards has sang it. But somebody would have had sanctified common sense to go and tell them when they sang it the first time, not to sing it the second time. But they sang it the first time and sang it the second time, and all of them sat down there. No, this is an aberration. It should not continue.
Professor, let's also look at if in any way this sort of beams a reflection into the role of the House, because we know that the legislature performs a critical role of checkmating, reviewing, scrutinizing the executive. But when scenes like this come up, for many Nigerians, they feel that this is an expression of loyalty. Do you think this is the case? And has eroded their core function?
For fear of sounding like a broken record, it is simple sacrifice. No, you cannot do that. That's not our national anthem. It's a different thing. They are singing the national anthem. But to sing the anthem of the president or his campaign slogan, no. It's not acceptable. You see, once you get to the House, you are not serving your political party. You are serving the nation. Once a president is elected, he is not the president of his political party. He's the president of the nation. So some of these things has to stop. And somebody has to put a stop to it. Enough is enough.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor. Let me come back to you, Honorable Ogun. Let's go back to the tax issue at hand. There are calls that this old tax reform, as a result of these issues or discrepancies that have been raised by the lawmakers, that this process should be halted or even scrapped. I would also like you to reflect back in your time in the House. In situations like this, are these concerns really valid? Should it be halted or even maybe scrapped or cancelled, taken down and then reviewed and brought out in, when everything aligns? What should be the next step?
They have to rework it because it's not the responsibility of the executive to make law. They have just altered this law. When you prepare a bill, waiting for the accent of the president to make it law, to make it an act of the National Assembly, and you add a comma or a full stop to it, you have already altered it. Not to talk about you just went ahead to amend certain sections on your own. It is fraudulent, and I will encourage my colleagues to invoke Section 148 of the Constitution, which is impeachment, because this is a fraudulent act. Discipline our children when they do the wrong things, but when adults behave in a criminal way, they should be punished for it. Because what are we telling the young ones? That you can go into examination hall and cheat? This is clearly cheating. This is not the law that was made by the National Assembly. This is a new law made by the executive, and they are not saddled with the responsibility of making laws for this country. It's an aberration. It's an abuse of the Constitution, and the executive must be punished. It's not enough to sacrifice the Attorney General. The president himself must go. You
said the president must go?
Absolutely.
What do you mean by the president must go?
He should be impeached. That's Section 148 of the Constitution. It's an aberration The executive should not be the one making laws. That's not what the Constitution states.
All right. How about you quickly, Professor?
Honorable, this National Assembly does not have the balls to impeach the president. They cannot do that. That is what
you said the current National Assembly cannot even get anywhere close to that. They can't. They don't have the courage for that.
Cannot do that. I can tell you that for free, and you can go to the bank with it. They cannot do that.
Why?
Because, is it the one that's singing Oyamande will stand that will go and defeat the president? No way, my brother. That's a discussion for another year, not even another day.
So how do they reach a middle ground now with Mr. President on this matter?
Well, they have to call back the document and do the needful. It's as simple as that. You see, look at all the things that are even going on. They have gone ahead to sign an agreement with France for a law that has not been passed. You see, so I don't understand where to start from. Now, does it mean that we don't have qualified experts in this country to manage this? And they came out to say that the Constitution of France is technical and training and whatever. So they cannot send Nigerians to France to be trained and come back to do this job. Must they contract part of this thing to France? I don't understand this country any longer. I tell you, I don't understand. I don't understand. A lot of things are going wrong and people are just watching. We are so docile that we can't do anything. And it's improper. The shenanigans of government is getting to a level that people can't control any longer.
But Professor Simeon, you seem to, hit the current administration so hard, but some would differ to say that this administration has also achieved a couple of things in terms of infrastructure, in terms of, even the economy. You seem to think otherwise. Would you not want to give the administration a pass mark in certain areas?
I followed my trajectory. I don't criticize government. I critique government policies. And when they have done it right, I will tell you outrightly that, look, they have done it right here. I've constantly, even in your studio, praised some of the ministers, like the Minister of Interior, like the Minister of Aviation, and one or two others that are doing yeoman's job. Even, well, let's leave that because of the controversy surrounding what he's doing lately. So you see, when they do it right, I give it to them. But when there are aberrations like this, you don't expect some of us to keep quiet. Now, look at the budget that we carried on this year. You have 2025 budget, you have 2024, you had even part of 2023. And at the end of the day, in August, the president said they have achieved the budget projection for the year, although the minister came and said it was not true. So that one, they have to sort it out. Now, if you have achieved that for the year, why is it that you are only doing 30% of the capital project? Is it only salaries you are paying? So now they are going to roll it over to 2026. He has said that by 2026, it will all be over. Let us see how it's going to be over, because we are still having 70% of the capital project of 2025 being rolled over to 2026. Let's see how these things are going to pan out. You see, these are the things we are saying. We're not saying that the government is not achieving them. No, they are achieving certain things, but in certain areas, hardcore areas, they are failing the country. That's what we're saying.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we, of course, okay, I understand that, of course, we can still continue with the conversation. And we'll be going on the break at this time. But let me stay with you in lieu of what you just said as regards, the budget. Now, I would want to put this in a way side by side with 2025 budget and, of course, the 2026 budget that Mr. President did propose. The total size of 2026 is about 58.47 trillion naira. In 2025, it was, of course, the total size was just a bit of a little, advanced than that. In terms of revenue realized in 2025, it was about 18.6 trillion. That's about 61% of the target. And then in terms of expenditure, about 24.66 trillion naira, 60% of target, and all of that. But for many individuals, there are concerns around the shortfall of the 2025 budget. Many have even started questioning in terms of being realistic, in terms of revenue targets and all. So quickly, I'm going to come back to you, Honorable. How would you say the 2025 budget did perform, particularly when we look at the economy, when we look at the revenue generation, when we look at projections and expectations, and some of the concerns? Mr. President did say that, yes, the target had been achieved sometime in September. But again, we are hearing on the contrary that, there were shortfalls in certain areas. What's your take? Honorable, the question is for you.
Well, I don't know what to believe anymore when these people talk, when this present government put out anything. I don't know what to believe anymore. If the president of the nation came out to say we have achieved or we have met our revenue targets, and then the finance minister hired by the president comes to say a different thing, so who should we not believe in? Now you are moving the entire capital, 70% of the 2025 into 2026. And like Prof said, which is the truth, we're operating basically three budget cycles. A part of 2023, 2024, 2025, and we are moving 2024, 2025 into 2026, and you are saying by March, I'm sure he was hoping that this budget, this tax bill will go through. They would have collected so much money, and then they can, because they have always said what we have is a revenue problem, and they will have enough money to cover all that. But come out and let us know where we are as a nation and how we're tackling the problems. This is the challenge I have with them. Now, you say NNPC made a profit of about 5.something trillion. Then a couple of days after, you came out to say, okay, we have spent 17-point-something trillion on pipeline surveillance and on the recovery. If you remember, the former Minister of Petroleum, Ibe Kacheku, well, Minister of State for Petroleum, he was one that coined that word on the recovery because there was no budget for subsidy. And when people were saying you are paying subsidy, there's no budget for it, so where are you getting the money? He coined that word on the recovery. So if that word is coming back now, which means the president, this government are still paying subsidies, 17-point-something trillion. So that we have too much contradiction with these people. I don't know what to believe.
All right.
I don't know trust them with anything anymore, and we are just watching.
All right. I think we have Darlington Nwauju back as the Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress. Darlington, of course, I believe you can hear me now. Can you hear me?
I hear you. I can hear you. Good evening.
Okay, yeah, right now we, of course, have been able to establish connection. I'm just going to ask you straight. As a member of the opposition party, there are concerns as regards even the tax reforms. As there are apprehensions by some quarters that, it might favor some, it might not favor some. There are also concerns as regards discrepancies being raised too. As a member of the opposition party, what's your take?
I'm not a member of the opposition party. I'm a member of the ruling All Progressive Congress Party.
Please, apologies for that. I meant All Progressives Congress, the ruling party. There's a lot of bashing on the ruling party. How do you respond on behalf of your party?
Well, one thing I must allow us to take into consideration is the fact that the duty of government anywhere in the world is the welfare and security of its citizens. And as long as government succeeds in executing social welfare policies and primary obligations to its citizens, then that government is to every intent and purpose succeeding in its obligations to citizens. And if you want to conduct a referendum on any government, you do not do so on the pages of newspapers or in, before television cameras and it will stand. The only best way to do it is during elections. You make sure that you are able to mobilize support to vote out that government. But as we speak today, in terms of figures and facts available, we are looking at a trajectory. We are looking at where, as a nation, we are coming from. We have had so many years of what I would refer to as anyhowness, where economy is run, on the basis of what I would refer to as pickpocket economics, where people will just come, run a rough shoulder over the economy, get away, and nothing is happening. If you look at between 1999 and today, the question is, how has governments before today, been able to invest massively in the development and betterment of the Nigerian economy? This cannot be achieved overnight. These are things that you must have to put the necessary, lay the necessary foundation in order to ensure that development, being a continuous process and a continuum, continues as a building block. And so I do not see the reason why, we will not look at or jettison partisan interests and look at the patriotic goals of nation building.
Mr.
Let's
Darlington,
take, for instance, the issue of the day, the issue with
because I was about to cut in so that you get into the issue of the crux of the issue. I mean, these concerns that are raised, I mean, it's a lawmaker that is saying there are discrepancies here. This is not what we agreed to. And what is presented to us right now, there are changes. Who made the alteration?
Yes, that was the area I was trying to get into. Now, the issue of alterations. Bulletin, Sergius Ogun was once a lawmaker of the Federal Republic. Now, in the business of lawmaking, if there are indeed, if an investigation committee has been set up by Mr. Speaker, now, if there are indeed credible evidences to show that there were post-assent alterations, that is, alterations after passage of an act of the National Assembly, the question is, if the clerk of the National Assembly did assent to that version of the gazetted copy of the law, what happened? If the rules, the rules and proceedings, or the votes and proceedings of the day passed by both chambers of the National Assembly is the same as what the clerk of the National Assembly endorsed, then who altered what? At the end of the day, it is not about, because this goes to the heart of legislative oversight. If indeed there were alterations, who altered what? Why were they altered? At what point were they altered? And so it is only based on thorough investigation and report by such a committee set up by both chambers of the National Assembly can we definitively talk about alterations or talk about even constitutional breaches in this matter, because the powers of exclusive powers of legislation is vested according to Section 4 and Section 58 of the Constitution on exclusively on the National Assembly. So anybody that tries to tamper on the powers of the National Assembly, then there will be problems. So there has to be thorough investigation. When we begin to speak definitively to issues.
All right. I mean, that said, how do you also react to the situation where Nigerians think that the current makeup of the National Assembly right now seems to be rubber stamp? I mean, with pointers to the video of where they were singing the president's, what I call it, campaign anthem as against what some consider not being the norm. It shouldn't be the right thing. I mean, for the lawmakers singing on your mandate and their role being to checkmate Mr. President, I mean, you are the publicity secretary of the All Progressives Congress. Do you think something is wrong there?
One looks at it. The question is, not all members of the National Assembly, as at May or as at June 2023, when that the 10th National Assembly was constituted, were members of the All Progressive Congress. And so if members of the House or both chambers of the National Assembly decide to create any kind of scene in the course of the business of lawmaking, then it behoves on the constituents to begin to ask questions. I can only ask questions or channel my questions to those who are representing me, as it were.
So you are saying that the blame right now should be, sorry, please hold on. You are saying the blame right now should be on the constituents and not even the lawmakers. The people that voted them should be the ones to put them to order.
As who represents me. And so it is not for any group of persons to wake up to say, the man who is representing Rivers people at the National Assembly, why did you sing song? And this thing is neither here nor there. So it depends on what was the motivation for singing such a song. Was it out of patriotic zeal? Was it because the National Assembly is now mainly peopled by members of
I'm going to ask you, what do you think? Darlington, please hold on. What do you think was the motivation? You raised the salient question. As a party member, what do you think was the motivation for them to have sang it?
Come again.
What do you think was you said what was the motivation? That should be the big question here. So I'm asking you, what do you consider the motivation for men of the assembly to sing on your mandate?
I think it was out of the fact that the furor of party loyalty, and that should be because I do not know what else that might lead to them singing on your mandate. Because, like I said before, I can only ask or channel my questions to those who represent me. So I would not know if there was an agreement before plenary for such a song to be sang. I do not know. I'm not a member of the National Assembly. So I can only send such probing questions or channel such questions to those representing me.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll slightly expand the conversations to look at some of the concerns as regards the new tax reforms and what it might portend for Nigerians in 2026. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Yeah, gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. It's still Politics HQ. Before we wrap up, Honorable Ogun, in 30 seconds, do you have concerns, aside the drama around the tax reforms? In bullet points, 30 seconds, do you have concerns?
Absolutely. In the situation where the executive is beginning to make laws for the country is an aberration. I don't know where it happens anywhere else in the world that it happens. And I think there should be serious sanctions. That's basically it. This law has been passed by the National Assembly. And like Prof said, which is the tradition, it's just a tradition or a convention. The president can bring it because it's an executive bill. Don't forget that. It's an executive bill. It was a bill written by them and brought to the National Assembly. So if they had issues with what was passed, because the president has an advisor in the House of Rep and in the Senate, they would have brought it back to say, please, the president wants us to look into this again. But that's not the norm. But that would have been the window. But to criminally go ahead and amend it and alter it, this law is not even a law. This law is dead on arrival. They should go and start all over again. That's the truth.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I would have really loved to take the final thoughts of all of you, but this is the bit time can permit. Professor Simeon Nnah, public affairs analyst, thank you for your time. Honorable Sergius Ogun, former member, House of Representatives, and also a member of the ADC, thank you so much. Darlington Nwauju is the Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress. Thank you, gentlemen. Well, this is the beat time. Great. This is the beat time will permit. In case you missed out, you can catch up on our YouTube platform. That's at News Central TV. You can also choose to follow us on social media. The handle is down your screen. You can choose to follow me personally at Dapo Adegboye. Up next is Tonight.